Namaste, everyone. All life, as we know, is continued education. Any thinking person cannot deny that education does not stop with school or college, but it is a lifelong process. We wish to consider what true education is, or to put it another way, what the essence of education is. We have certain knowledge about education. We know when we are educated, we know how to do a number of things. Especially in recent times, there is so much emphasis on job oriented education, career oriented education. Unfortunately, a lot of people think about education as meant for becoming somebody. More unfortunate is there are many who don't even care what you become. They say, whatever you become, you must become rich through them. Whether you become an engineer or doctor, a lawyer or a chartered accountant, or anything, can you become rich through that? Alas, that kind of emphasis on earning money, amassing wealth, is unfortunate, is most pitiable for that mind which thinks like that has committed a blunder in equating wealth with happiness, with peace, with finding a true meaning in life. When we know that we are at peace, we find life a great blessing. When we find life meaningful, when we find there is a certain natural harmony between the rest of the world and us. If there is disharmony, if there is constant battle arising from countless likes and dislikes, numerous prejudices for and against people, communities, and so on, then there is something terribly wrong with the way we have grown up, with the way we have been educated. Therefore, this evening's topic proposes that the essence of education is not about becoming some sort of a professional, it's not about becoming wealthy or famous. All of us do get into certain profession. That is a sideshow. The question is, what is education supposed to do to us essentially? So we learn to drive, we learn to cook, we learn to run some machine, we learn to read or write many languages, we learn to sing or speak or dance and so on. Can any one of these countless forms of learning be equated to the essence of education? We find that even after learning Any one of these skills, any two, any three, or even after learning many of these skills, one may not be at peace with oneself, at peace with one's environment. Long back, I heard that there were a couple in some neighborhood who, both of whom knew 11 languages quite well. And very often the neighbors heard them fighting, quarreling with each other, and they would scold each other in 11 languages. Isn't that wonderful? So, knowing 11 languages does not take us anywhere when it comes to living life peacefully, happily, with love. In the light of it, we say learning to learn is the essence of education. It has been the experience of all of us that a number of subjects that we learned with great enthusiasm in primary, elementary, high school, and even college level are left behind. We don't use them later in life. However, going by the topic of the evening, if we have learned to learn, I guess that stays with us for a very long time, all our life really. Learning to learn, even at our old age, we must be open to learning. We must be open to learn a new skill if need be, but that expression, that clause, if need be, has to be removed when it comes to learning to learn. So, what is this learning to learn? Whether we are learning mathematics or economics, some language or some geography, invariably in that learning process, there are human interactions and there are dialogues going on within ourselves. Learning to learn has a greater bearing on interpersonal relationships and our relationship with ourselves. We need to look at ourselves. We need to notice where we have become insensitive, where we have become indifferent, where we have become presumptuous. There was a woman who had received a couple of gold medals during the convocation of her university when she had completed BSc or BCom or something. She got gold medals. But something got into her head. For rest of her life, she always imagined that she was the brightest person wherever she went. Even many hard knocks that she had received in life did not help her change that outlook. She always imagined, I am a gold medalist from my university. though 23 years might have passed by then. I'm the most qualified one here. I'm the brightest one here. Everybody should respect me, should learn from me. Oh dear, in the 23 years after you received those gold medals, climbing up a stage with all glitter and glamour, photographs being taken of you, and so on, in all the years that followed that wonderful function, do you know you have stopped learning? And do you know that you are clinging to an idea, a certain image of yours? Therefore, most appropriately and incisively, Krishnaji says at places, true learning does not involve accumulation. In the case of this lady, she accumulated, she collected. What is accumulation? When you and I collect a few things and collect a little more and then safeguard whatever you have collected. Nowadays, there are some developed countries which have accumulated unbelievably large number of nuclear weapons, and they are safeguarding them, protecting them. When we are afraid when they will use them. It is said even 1% of the nuclear arsenal that they have accumulated is enough to destroy the whole earth. And after accumulating so much of nuclear weapons with themselves, year after year they organize conferences where they advise developing countries to abandon nuclear arsenal. Denuclearization or some such word there is. These developed countries feel a certain moral superiority when they advise other countries not to possess nuclear weapons. Without changing the topic, I thought what accumulation means. Collecting cars, collecting stamps, postage stamps, collecting all sorts of physical things, and collecting nuclear weapons, etc., is an outward movement, an outward affair. But look at the lady about whom I spoke. She collected, she picked up an idea. I am extremely bright and was clinging to it. That was also an accumulation. Therefore, we are never tired of saying the art of living consists in learning the art of dying. I might have got 3 gold medals, or I might have failed three, ti- 3 times before finally passing and getting a BSc, Bachelor of Science degree. Both my success and my failure mm, can be in the functional memory, but they should not enter into psychological memory. We must let go of those memories when it comes to creating an image of our own, defining our self-worth, deciding or concluding who we are. In this town, I am the most respected and respectable person. In this way, suppose we conclude, that is terrible. The same word education is used for learning all sorts of domains of knowledge, like science and mathematics and history and all that. The same word education is used for the inner transformative journey. Mystics like J. Krishnamurti are concerned with the transformative journey that you and I embark upon. And therefore, this statement, learning to learn is the essence of true education, applies to the inner, lifelong, transformative journey. It requires a certain healthy attitude. Sometimes the very word attitude is something negative. That depends on the usage of the word. I myself did not know that usage till recently. There are healthy attitudes and there are unhealthy attitudes. That's how I had used the word attitude. But some places, like in United States, the moment you use a word attitude, it's something negative. You don't have to add an adjective. You find people whispering in your ears, pointing to somebody at a distance. See, watch that man, watch that man. Don't you think he has an attitude? So it's a usage. Just the word attitude means something not desirable. Just the word attitude over there means moving away from a normal, unassuming, open outlook. So whatever it is, I go by my old usage. Unhealthy attitudes and healthy attitudes seem to be valid to me. So I would say learning to learn demands a very healthy attitude. There is an old Sanskrit shloka. When it comes to learning, getting vidya, you and I should imagine as though we never get old and never will die. Ajara amaravat pradnaha vidyam artham cha sadhayet. The shloka talks about earning wealth also, but let's stay with the focus. Vidyam. In the pursuit of vidya, we must be looking at ourselves as though we will never die. The same shloka in the second half says, when it comes to doing right things, you must imagine as though tomorrow you will die. If you say, I want to do right things, I want to help people, I want to give away some of my wealth to deserving, needy people, but I'll do it from 2028. After Donald Trump's term is over, I will do it. If you say whether after Donald Trump gets up, gets down from his seat in 2028, or even 2 days later, the shloka says, who knows whether you will be alive 4 years from now? Who knows whether you will be alive 2 days from now? You may not live, oh dear, even tomorrow. Therefore, if it is some good thing you are contemplating to do it now. In a poetic language, the second half of that shloka goes, Grihita iva kesheshu mrityuna dharma macharet. As though Mrityu, Lord Yamaraja, has held your hair already to drag you to some other world. Grihita iva kesheshu mrityuna dharmam acharet. As though the moment has come for you to pack up and go, that means there is no tomorrow for you to do that right thing. Do it immediately. A very interesting shloka with a nice contrast. When it comes to learn and grow, imagine you are going to live forever. When it comes to doing some virtuous act, do not postpone because you may die tomorrow. To learn something from the very rich treasure of Krishnaji's remarks on true education, he often said, the function of education is to create human beings who are integrated and therefore intelligent. He feared that the popular education is making people more and more fragmented. It brings about lopsided growth in them. They're very smart in some subjects, but so stupid, so insensitive or cruel in another side of their life. Then they are not integrated. How can we pursue an integrated development of ourselves? Perhaps that's what he meant by meant. That what he meant. He means that was Sri Aurobindo meant by coining the word integral yoga. Today, every university, every college, every institute claims, they make big claims on big hoardings. We at our place offer holistic education. Many a time you talk to the director or the principal or the teachers over there, they don't even know definition of holistic education. Krishnaji also said, true learning in essence is humility. Obviously, when you don't hold on either to your achievement in the past or to your sad failures, I should not add the word sad. When you are truly objective, nothing is sad or nothing is something to make you proud. You failed, that's a fact. What is there to be sad about? And you won, that's a fact. Why should you be proud about it? Here you failed, there you lost. Here you won, over there you got defeated. To hold those as functional memories and not to allow them to make a dent on your psychological domain to create a positive or negative image of your own. To be image free obviously goes hand in hand with true humility. In the ancient works of India, there is an expression. A truly humble scholar, though he knows so much, is ever ready to learn if need be from a little child, if need be from a parrot. Balad api, shukad api is the Sanskrit expression. Balad means even if a child shows you, which generally doesn't happen, but once in a while a child shows you, grandfather, oh, sorry, you are wrong here. What did you say? What did you write? What did you try to tell us? It's not correct. You learn from that grandchild, that little child. Shukadapi, even a parrot imitating human voice says something, and you suddenly realize that it may be a parrot, but what he is saying is true. Oh my God, let me accept it. So Bala the Vishuka. So learning to learn, let me sum up in this manner, is a parallel process that is in parallel with learning skills, learning information, getting to enhance our knowledge base. In parallel to that, if we are able to keep an eye on the movement of the self, there is a different learning that goes on. There is a humorous episode where some boys were asked not to do noise, not to make noise, but they were whispering to each other, and 20 boys in a classroom whispering to each other became a bit of a noise. And then the class monitor, one of the boys who was made some kind of a head, came there and yelled at all of them. The teacher told us not to make noise, and all of you are making noise. This is not acceptable. He spoke so loudly, more than all of them put together. He created noise over there. Like that, you and I would be behaving in ways where there is no humility, where there is no openness, where we presume we are right all the time and others are wrong all the time. Of course, I am right all the time. It's a presumption. It needs to be double checked, verified again and again. Krishnaji always talked about awakening of intelligence. And intelligence is awakened only when there is integration. When we do not live in conflict, when we do not live on borrowed ideas, when we do not live by simply looking at what she has and what he has and then deciding that we too should have what he has, we too should have what she possesses, all that leads to fragmentation. Therefore, let me conclude with a beautiful saying I received from one of you only today, attributed to or credited to Aristotle. It says, it is a mark of an educated mind to entertain a thought without accepting it. We neither suppress thought nor hug it hurriedly, embrace it, accept it. We let a thought arise. So, how nicely Aristotle spoke so long ago. It's the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. So, can we entertain a thought? Let it arise in our bosom, in our mind, but look at it carefully. Probably it's a good thought, right thought, it's worth pursuing further, or it is nonsense, it is biased, it is prejudiced, it is not factual, it's a fancy, then can we gently let it go? Therefore, it should suffice to say at this moment, learning to learn is an inner transformative journey. The outer journey has its place. Therefore, we say parallelly these two have to take place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Harshad sir, would you please like to add something on the topic? Harshad sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Swamiji. This is a very, very vast topic, and we many people talk about what education should be, but doing actually, that is more
पानी दे दो.
important, not talking theoretically, because when we really try to do it, we see so many problems. And you gave the example, Swamiji, that one woman, and she was gold medalist and very proud of. Similarly, I like to give, I read it in the newspaper that there was a woman, she was an engineer and she had a good job and she was married, and her husband and the husband's father, they were very greedy for more money. They wanted more dowry, and she already gave 20 lakhs rupees, but they wanted more. And then this lady, she got frustrated and she committed suicide. So when I read that in the newspaper, then I felt why she had to commit suicide. She was independent, she was educated, she could have left her husband and lived alone and asked for divorce based on that. But and this happens to many well educated, famous people, that when they get disappointed in life because of some relationship, they commit suicide. And that indicates that the kind of education which they got in the school was only to become rich, famous, become somebody, and they really did not give importance to the thoughts and feelings, how they arise, because this has to start at a young age when when student in the classroom, they start making lot of noise, and then you gave the example that somebody comes and shouts at the whole class. That means adding more noise. But the intelligent way is probably is to go to the student who are making noise, put your hand on their shoulder and tell them gently, let us all settle down. And then when everybody is very quiet, then real some learning happens. And even in a short time, a lot can be learned, not only about history or physics or mathematics, but about the state of the mind, which is very, very quiet and very attentive and curious to learn and not to accept what the teacher says or what the textbook says, because the textbook also makes many errors. So sometimes when I was teaching physics, I would tell the student that on this page there is some error. You find out. Let us see who is able to find the error in the textbook. And so they will read very carefully. But this is the teaching of subjects like physics or mathematics, which I was teaching. But much more important is about how to be silent and have the mind which is very attentive and learn in the state of learning, not accepting anything. So uh, this can be done only when the teachers who themselves are deeply interested in living a different way of life with intelligence, with goodness, love. And Krishnaji said that without goodness and love, one is not educated. So these are the qualities, are real qualities, the state of the mind. What is happening when a person gets angry? What is behind that anger? Why a teacher gets angry or why a student gets angry? And to discuss with student about this kind of problem, and it doesn't take much time to discuss. Maybe in a period of 40 minutes, five minutes can be given to learn about our own mind, how it is working. Like sometimes students, they have the habit of teasing each other. Like in one of my class, one boy was teasing a girl, and the girl was crying, and she was coming to me and say, "Please tell the boy not to tease." And I will tell the student not to tease, but I will also tell the girl, "Why are you crying? Just ignore him because you are getting upset. That boy is taking a pleasure in making you more unhappy." And generally, people who are unhappy, they create more unhappiness for others. They don't like the bright student. Generally, the students who are very weak and slow, and they don't have the um, goodness, then they will feel very jealous of bright student. Or and if a student sometimes, they when they compare themselves with the bright student, and then they condemn their own self. That means comparison, which creates superiority and inferiority. In some people, it creates superiority. In some people, it creates inferiority. And to discuss with students about these harmful effects of comparison, competition, and so on. And uh, Krishnaji also said that we want to have excellence in academics, but how to bring that excellence in academics is through excellence in behavior. Because I feel that most of the students, they are not interested in learning, and they are forcing themselves to study, and they have to study so many subjects, and one subject after the another subject, and then it affects their attitude, and they begin to rebel because they have to study so much. So that can also be brought out to students to calm down, to learn how to not think about the future, not to think about the past, to be silent, to listen to the birds singing, and to see what is happening within the mind, how it is chattering, And this chattering of the mind, it becomes a habit at a very young age. And people don't like to be silent because it is like a kind of a punishment for most people to be silent. But yet, this silence is the state in which we can refresh ourselves. That means the energy which is wasted in chattering, making noise, that same energy, it can be eliminated if we are aware of what is happening within us. So Krishnaji's teachings, whether it is for students or for adults, for teachers, is about this awareness to look curiously within ourselves. And from my experience, I feel that when people become very curious to learn about their own mind by watching directly, not trying to understand Krishnamurti, then that curiosity also comes in learning physics or mathematics and other subjects or anything. Anything which we don't know, we can know it, but how to go about it. So sometimes I also talk with students about how to study a subject like physics, which I was teaching. And so life is for learning. And as Swamiji said, it doesn't end with getting our degree, bachelor's or master's or PhD. The learning goes on throughout our life. Because when people they get addicted many times, they are not aware. Smoking, drinking, this happens even to students of Rishi Valley School. Even if they are medical doctor, they take up this habit of smoking, drinking unconsciously, and then it becomes very difficult to give up. So, learning means learning about the sensitivity to see what is happening to our body and to our mind. To have a healthy body and healthy mind, then we can learn, we can enjoy whatever we do, and life doesn't become a burden. So, the purpose of life is to enjoy it and not to create problems for ourselves and for other people out of ignorance. Because if somebody like insult me, like a student, behaves very rudely with me, and I'm a teacher, and I also become rude to the student because I think that this is my responsibility to be rude and teach student, I can't teach because then if I become rude like a student, then there is no difference between student and me. So I must learn as a teacher how to make student very quiet and make them silent and ask them to look at their own mind. When I was a teacher in Rishi Valley, I used to take students for walks in the evening outside the school campus, and we will observe nature. We sit quietly and and talk little bit, observe the birds, listen to the sounds. So learning is not only by reading; it's about looking, listening, everything. And this is what Krishnaji was talking about, the art of looking, listening, learning, moment by moment, what is happening. So even when we are not doing anything, there is something to learn, to look inside. and see why these thoughts are coming. What is this purpose? Why we have become habitual. So that kind of asking questions about our inner world, that makes us alive to, to live in the world and do our thing efficiently with even the outside world. Because if we are not quiet, we are not clear, then whatever we do, it will create more confusion. So our responsibility as a teacher or a student or any human being is to ourselves. If we are not clear, if we are confused, whatever we do will create more confusion, and that is what is happening in the world. And even highly educated people, they commit suicide. I have seen professors, very, very famous in their field, committing suicide when something goes wrong in their family or something relationship. So learning means to learn about our inner world, and then that will reflect in in everything which we do, whether it's a learning physics or mathematics or any other subject or working in the office. So relationship, life is relationship. And when our relationship are very good, when we don't create problems with people around, then we can be really happy. So this is the way Krishnaji was wanted the student to come out from the school very, very clear to face the world outside. But I don't think that has happened. Students coming out from Rishi Valley, they are very highly intellectual. They become doctors, professors, engineers. They do very good work, but I don't think that they have got the essence of what Krishnaji was talking about, looking at the inner world and find real happiness within oneself, not in the outside, becoming somebody, earning a lot of money, becoming famous. A real happiness is the happiness which comes when our mind is very clear, when there's affection, not because we want something from somebody, but a love which is unconditional. So Krishnaji's teachings, education, is goes into a transformation of our mind, living a different way of life. Okay, I said nothing. Thank you.
Chidanandji, would you please like to make a small comment on this?
Yes, yes. Thank
Five
you.
minutes only.
Because I need to leave a bit early. Um,
Yeah.
I wish to draw from what Harshadji shared. He beautifully gave the example of how a senior student in the class, or what you call the monitor, goes and yells. That was the example I had given. And he said another way could be him for him or a teacher to go softly, slowly, and pat the students and tell them very peacefully, let us not make noise. Now, the problem is to most of us in lot of situations, such alternatives don't occur at all. We just get carried away by what we have been doing all these years. We all have certain personality traits, and we act very mechanically. So, the point I wish to share with all of you friends is some reflection. Sometimes, when we are riding a high wave of emotion, sometimes, when even in the midst of saying something, we can pause a little and examine. If it's possible, just to go into another room, sit quietly. Am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? So, little reflection, and at the height of it, just to be silent. not refer to some book or not go by some memory, but just being aware of the thoughts rising in us can open a new avenue. See, by even reading examples of how wise people manage the situation, we may not get wise. The truly wise responses from us arise from some inner silence and from our directly observing, number one, the improper or improper nature of what we were about to do, and number two, the alternatives, the out of box thinking. Hey, why not I do this way? All along I have screamed at these students, but today let me go to the students, which I have never done before. Let me go quietly sit with them without making any comment. And slowly, hopefully, I hope an opportunity will arise when they turn to me wondering what I have got to say. Then I will say something very lovingly, not shouting at them. This way, an alternative should arise in our consciousness, and then we say that yeah, let me try that. So some kind of combination of reflection with some thought involved maybe, and then just silence, no thought, only awareness can help us find new roads, new ways to behave. Otherwise, we are very mechanical. No matter how qualified, how senior, how well positioned in the society we are, we tend to be very mechanical and repeat the same old errors as we had committed. Thank you. I will listen to a few people for a little bit, then I may have to leave. Excuse me. Over to
Pradeep ji,
you.
unmute and say. Pradeep ji, unmute and say. If some problem, I will request Chidanandji to unmute you.
Oh, let me try.
Please unmute Chidanandji. Chidanandji, unmute.
Ask to unmute.
Pradeep ji.
Let's see. No,
Pradeep.
it didn't unmute. I just. It unmuted. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Please go on.
Thank you very much. We have heard about the narratives, or rather they had the substance. Two teachers have given today, Harshad Bhai and Swamiji, both teachers in their own respect. In the sense, but Harshad ji is limited to formal education initially, educated outside in very specified physics and mathematics, about electronics, electricals. And Chidanandji, in his own way, also is a very acclaimed academician, then who joined religion. So both are teachers, one academician plus religious. Another one is Harshad Bhai, having a close association with world teacher who was not formally educated, but he got it freely, in the sense, open environment and chances, and so many opportunities were there around him. It's a very dramatic life. So this is a very limited field of formal education, guiding students and then conditioning them towards some ideal goal. I'm using this word conditioning, which may not be the right word ultimately, but. So Krishnamurti talked about two, three places, flame of learning, when he says, so this is the basic curiosity in a man, in general, human beings, curiosity, whether he gets a chance to go to formal education or not, but curiosity is the base of learning. That's why you find that curiosity, which has not been marred, through formal education in these some of these tribals, some of these people who live their life in open fields without any formal education, they are much more sensitive and much more, they learn very fast. And at times you are amazed that how come they could find solutions so easily. So that is one thing. Then JK also said the whole movement of life is learning. Whole movement of life is learning. That includes everything around life in us and around us. Then in beginnings of learning, he talked about how the outer diversions can be, students can be free from outer diversions initially before starting a specific subject, so that at least they are more back to themselves, close to themselves to learn a specific thing. But what happens is we accumulate, this was also raised by Swamiji, we accumulate, but I'm talking about a different accumulation. What others, specifically celebrities, what they have said, what they have learned, and it has become knowledge for us to repeat time and again what they have learned. Then mixed with it, we have our own experiences, as Harshad Bhai was talking about his personal experiences as teacher with a specific type of students, with a specific cultural base and financial base. So that's why we are limited to that way anyway. So, but learning is only possible. Sensitivity, of course, is important, but curiosity, natural curiosity in us, because Swamiji was talking about people collect things. And I also did a lot of these things: stamps collection, coins collection, numismatics, and then first day covers, everything. And this, at that age, it helped me a lot, or a better exposure about the history and geography and even some part of society. You see how important people's. So it's not that a learner will learn even while accumulating. Why he's ultimately he has to leave that this unless until he leaves that, he won't be able to learn further. So this is way of playfully learning, what I did in my early childhood, and I'm retaining those things even today, showing to children. You see, this type of these are coins belonging when the mint was not that good, and just like stones, those coins. So it is interesting to create more curiosity even in children. Oh, these were the coins we were using in transactions. So everything, you learn from everything. And what Swamiji was talking about, a rising of alternatives, very important things, is something related to lateral thinking by De Bono, when he pointed out of the box and all that. So that is only possible when you are free from knowledge. Knowledge in the sense mechanical, of course, if you are going for mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, all those engineering, where repetition or certain formulae are to be understood. So that is another point, but alternatives only come when you face the problem point blank. Absolutely. And this is such a pleasure, I tell you. By nature, this is there. You see the problem as such, and it will tell you the solution. Solution, tell you means through you, the thing will be solved. So this is a very important, it will always be important because things are changing, are all around. Nuclear wars and all the accumulation of those weapons, and once they are free from those things, they have tested on this country and that country and that country and that country, ultimately comes to business. And then, so that's a very different field. So if we mix up things like this, then we are accumulating a lot. We are stuffing our mind. Google, thanks to Google, in a way, you must know when to use it. So these things are there. Important. It is up to the person how he uses that. That is one. I think I have taken much more than. Thank you very much. And let others. Dinesh is waiting for. Thank you. Thank you.
Please, Dinesh, come forward.
Are you able to hear my voice?
Yeah, we are able to hear. Please go on.
First of all, thank you, Swamiji, and thank you, Harshad sir. I would say that Harshad sir has quite explained the subject, but still I would like to speak on this. This is very difficult subject. And as Harshad sir has said, it is a very wide subject. Actually, JK has told about education. In my view, he has talked about three things, three types of learning, he has said. First is from book. Second is from experience. Experience means directly you go to say for example, you don't know the cow. Then you go to near a cow and you see that this is cow. So you accumulate that. And that is second type of learning. The third type, which we are talking today, is related to the psychological world. And this is something different. This is in-time learning, and this is learning from your reactions, and you have to see the reactions. Stimulus may be outer, or stimulus may be inner, or thought may be mechanical, but you have to see it, and you have to act on the immediately, or it is, you may say it is automatic, or it is learning and action, both are simultaneous, you can say. So this is very important, which JK has said, in my views. So he has given an example which is very important to understand the subject or topic. Suppose you learn to drive a car. So first you understand what is gear and what is clutch and what is accelerator, etc. Then you start driving the car. So after some time it becomes mechanical. Means first you learn from the conscious mind, then your subconscious mind also learns that, and then it becomes mechanical. But this is not the only, here not the story ends. While running the car, you have to be alert to see whether the road is, whether there is any traffic, or you have to, or somebody is crossing the lane or what. So this alertness is the learning in the moment. That's what he said. Means first you are driving the car, that is mechanical, with conscious mind and subconscious mind. Conscious mind, because you have taken decision to drive a car. Subconscious mind, it has become mechanical. It is supporting your conscious mind. But at the same time, you have to be very alert and watchful. And he has used the word observation. You have to do the observation on the road. There should not be any traffic, or whether any person is crossing the road or whatever it is. So that in the moment learning is what is called learning, which we are talking of third kind of learning, right? So I think now this is not the only thing. This is just for example I have given, which JK has given. There are so many aspects to this. This learning, third type of learning, as said, I would just repeat quickly the words which JK said, and then I will make comment on that. Learning is not additive. Learning through experience is one thing. It is the accumulation of conditioning, and learning all the time, not only about objective things, but also about oneself, is something quite different. This is third type of learning. Learning which we speak about is observation. To observe without accumulation, to observe in freedom. This is very important. There has to be a freedom in this. We are not against action of knowledge through accumulation. We are not against action of knowledge through accumulation. That would be too absurd. He has clearly said. So I observe myself in relationship to another, because in that observation I see my reactions. I am jealous. I discover I do not like people. I discover I am envious. So what does comparison means? Can I live without comparison? Here the learning is the very action. Here the learning is very action. The art of observation, the art of hearing, the art of learning. This is actually one thing as per him in the third type of learning. But separation for convenience, this separation has been done. When you know all these three acts, then you live a life of complete awareness. When you know all these three types of acts, then you live a life of complete awareness. If you are learning about your reaction, learning becomes the reactions becomes slow, or they do not come so quickly. If you are alert, if you are aware, voicelessly aware, then the reactions become slow. Say I am learning about that subject, that particular page, and also I am learning about why thought arises. So it is a whole moment of learning. When you are learning something, through say you are reading a page and you are learning, and at the same time you are also aware what sort of thoughts are arising. Then this moment is a total moment of learning. Learning implies not knowing. This type of learning implies not knowing. Leisure is constantly changing, moving, living. I'm sorry. Learning is constantly changing, moving, living. Living is a movement from no center. Here, learning is a movement from no center. So, learning is a movement, not a static state. Learning is an act from moment to moment. As Harshad sir said, it is from moment to moment. There is learning of the movement of the self only when there is conflict. When you are happy, you are not watching everything, you are just happy. In learning, there is no measure. This type of learning, there is no measure. The actual is what is actually happening now. The second letter, it becomes measurable and is the way of memory. For observation of whatever interests you, attention is needed. Here he has used another word also, attention. This attention is also not measurable. It is the responsibility of educator to understand the whole nature and structure of memory, to observe its limitations, and to help the student to see this. Leisure is a time when mind is not occupied with anything whatsoever. It is the time of observation. It is the only unoccupied mind that can observe. It is very interesting, he said here. It is the only unoccupied mind that can observe. Free observation is the moment of learning. This frees the mind from becoming mechanical. Learning about conflict is the understanding of this whole pattern and of the behavior of pleasure. The essence of learning is constant movement without a fixed point. The essence of learning is constant movement without a fixed point. If its point becomes your prejudice, your opinion, your conditioning, etc., and you start from this handicap, then you cease to learn. Learning is infinite. There is a way of learning which is insight. In learning, now he has used another word, insight. In learning, you have to do everything yourself, and that demands tremendous energy. Now he has also introduced energy here. For learning, leisure is required. Learning is not born out of curiosity. Here he is clearly said, learning is not born out of curiosity. You learn about universe not out of pleasure or curiosity, but out of your relationship to the world. Learning implies attention. Here again he is used one word, attention. When you are really deeply affectionate, you are learning. So basically he has also, my now observation is, he has used three words: attention, fresh energy, and wisdom. So not only the observation, simple observation and choiceless awareness is required, but apart from that, attention is also required, and fresh energy is required, and wisdom is required. Basically, he has also used at another place passion. That is again energy. So one should have passion also. If he is not having any passion, because it cannot be cultivated, then he has to gather fresh energy. And how it has to be gathered? By leisure or free time or whatever it is. JK says leisure, you should have free time. So for learning, fresh energy, attention and wisdom is required. These are my views, and thank you very much.
Prasad sir. Prasad sir. Please unmute. Prasad sir.
Sir, you are already unmuted.
Now you have allowed me to unmute.
No, you are unmuted for 2-3 seconds, 15 seconds at least.
No, sir.
But
I have been trying. Now it all right, I think. Let me
okay.
Let me start. I don't want to disturb the sleep of Jain sir. Sir,
Already doing it.
sir, the topic I think is a selection by Swamiji, because I have not come across this title, Learn to Learn. how to learn. And I am a little foxed by this title because Krishnaji has said at so many places that our academics are only creating mechanical brains which are attached to societal values of, making money, reaching power, etc. That is what our academic education is doing. That is, it is creating only human, it is not creating human beings. It is creating only those persons who are attached to societal values. And Krishnaji basically differs from societal values. Societal values are search for power, search for money, influence, all these things which we know. So that is it. He also, his main attempt is to create human beings who are compassionate, who are sensitive to nature, who are sensitive otherwise to the sufferings of people and all that. These are two different aims. He doesn't say you don't have to create engineers, doctors, lawyers, etc. That type of education is required, but that is not sufficient. And we are having all these conflicts and these wars, etc. This type of evils in the society now. That is because education is restricted to creating only these functionaries who have no sense of justice or mercy or higher values. That is there. But then, what is this? He has said it so many times that difference between formal education and what his schools are supposed to create. And Harshadji has said that they are quite successful in creating engineers, doctors, etc. But they have not succeeded so much in that transformative journey, what he called, in creating people who are in that journey, transformative journey. That is there. But then what is this learning to learn? This is a phrase which has foxed me because, and I think, to my knowledge, Krishnaji has not used that phrase. Swamiji, I think, has created this phrase out of his experience, but it makes sense. I am not saying it doesn't make sense, but we have to find what sense it can make. And basically, it is the same story that you have to have a mind which is not attached to images, and you have to be sensitive to nature. So for that, you must have observation. You must learn to listen, to observe, and to learn and all that. You can listen only when your mind is free, when it is silent, when it is not carried away by some prejudice, and you can observe similarly when your mind is free and all that. Basically, I think these are the basic prerequisites before you can learn anything. unless you have these qualities, that is, unless you learn to listen and observe and this type of education, unless you pay attention to that, you cannot have a mind which can learn. As Swamiji has said, learning doesn't stop with formal education. It is a lifelong process. But in that lifelong process, we can't have only these functionaries who are devoted, lawyers who are 85. At the age of 85 also, one is a lawyer, he is a successful lawyer, or he is a tottering lawyer and he goes to court and he is proud of it. And society honors him and the professional bodies honor him because he is coming to court at the age of 85 and things like that. So basically, those societal values are at the root of our conflicts, our wars and all that. So a mind that is free of a tradition, because a tradition is attaching you to certain viewpoints, because you become a second-hand human being, you are only repeating what your scriptures say. And similarly, the other man, the Muslim also is doing that. So you must have a free mind, a mind that is not attached to anything, which is not carried away by societal values. That is the prerequisite. Then you can have learning of both types. This is the background or prerequisite for having a free mind, so that that free mind can be applied for anything. If you want to study engineering also, this free mind will help you. It will help you to understand that engineering subject or any subject. So it is that free mind which is a prerequisite, and that is learning to have a free mind so that you can learn further. That is how I understand this topic. Thank you, sir. That's it.
Thank you very much. You did not disturb my sleep after 7:30. Thanks for that.
Thanks all.
Please end it so
Thanks
that I
all
can sleep well.
helping in knowing about learning.
Sleeping is a must before learning.
Correct,
So
correct.
if you don't sleep, you
I
will be
understand.
disturbed.
I agree.